Please be advised that this content is for mature audiences only. Welcome to Cracklin' Rosie True Crime. In this premiere, I will feature archived newsreels as well as basic case facts on the life of Gypsy Rose and the murder of her mother, Dee Dee Blanchard. In 2016, Gypsy Rose Blanchard pleaded guilty to second-degree murder in the death of her mother, Dee Dee. Although Gypsy didn't actually kill her mother, she admittedly encouraged her boyfriend, Nicholas Godejohn, to do so. The case gained international attention because Gypsy claims she was a victim of Munchausen syndrome by proxy.
New details on the bizarre cross-country murder case after two horrifying posts on Facebook led police to discover the truth behind Dee Dee Blanchard's death. Gypsy Blanchard, who pretended to be wheelchair-bound for years as part of a financial fraud, has now been charged for the death of her own mother. Neighbors and friends believed Blanchard to be disabled due to leukemia, but according to police, she can in fact walk fine without a wheelchair. The chilling murder case started Sunday when Dee Dee and Gypsy's shared Facebook page posted a creepy status. After concerned friends came to the family's home and got no response, police found Dee Dee dead inside, with Gypsy nowhere to be found. She got caught about 570 miles away in Wisconsin with her boyfriend, Godejohn. According to police, Gypsy has now admitted to writing the Facebook messages herself, likely several days after the killing. The alleged killer couple are now being held in Wisconsin on $1 million bail and are expected to be extradited to Missouri soon.
The story behind a couple arrested in Big Bend this week after authorities say they murdered a woman in Missouri. The story is growing increasingly bizarre.
It turns out Gypsy Blanchard and her mother were in the news before.
And asked him to stab her mother to death so that they could be together.
As the charges against her are detailed, you can hear her sobs.
Stole money from her deceased mother's safe and fled the state of Missouri.
And when she does speak in Waukesha County Court, she sounds like a child.
2103 West Volunteer Way.
But Gypsy Blanchard is an adult. Although authorities aren't sure exactly how old she is, it's likely somewhere between 19 and 23.
I remember my mom had gave me this little glass house, and she said, one day this will be real. And now it finally is.
That's Gypsy 7 years ago, clutching her mother Dee Dee's hand, the woman she's now accused of asking her boyfriend, Nicholas Godejohn, to stab to death.
It's so easy to live here, and it's so peaceful.
The two were interviewed after Habitat for Humanity built them a handicapped accessible home because of Gypsy's disabilities. They said she was confined to a wheelchair.
We have an awesome bathtub. It's a jacuzzi tub meant for my muscles. And we have a wonderful ramp.
And I want to start off with saying things are not always as they appear.
Authorities say the two were lying. You can see Gypsy for yourself walking into court. Now, along with the investigation into Dee Dee's murder, authorities are also looking into what appears to be a financial scheme.
This is a tragic event surrounded by mystery and public deception.
Alleging Gypsy and her mother lied about Gypsy's health to get money and attention.
It just proves that happy endings are not just in fairy tales, they're real and true in real life also.
According to court documents, both Gypsy and her boyfriend say he stabbed Dee Dee after Gypsy asked him to. Investigators say he then mailed the knife to his Wisconsin home so he would not get caught.
Revelations tonight about the couple arrested in Waukesha County for a brutal murder in Missouri. 12 News' Colleen Henry investigates Gypsy Rose Blanchard's secret Facebook persona, one she worked to keep from the mother she is now accused of killing.
Aaliyah Woodmansey grew up with Gypsy Rose Blanchard. She's dumbstruck by this week's revelations that the sickly girl she thought was wheelchair-bound is now accused of orchestrating her mother's murder.
I thought I knew these people so well, and come to find out, I have no idea who they are. I see her walking, and it's kind of painful because I really thought I was really close to them.
State of Wisconsin versus Gypsy Blanchard.
Prosecutors charged Gypsy Blanchard and Nicholas Godejohn of Waukesha County with killing Dee Dee, then posting profane comments about the murder on Facebook. Woodmansey says she and Gypsy secretly communicated on Facebook.
Her mom was very set on Gypsy having the mentality of a 7-year-old and didn't appreciate me talking to Gypsy like someone my age.
Detectives are now investigating if Dee Dee faked her daughter's illness for money. The family got medical airlifts, Disney travel, and free housing over the years because of Gypsy's supposed disabilities. Woodmansey says Gypsy feared her mother would find out she wanted a different life. She used the secret scream name, Emma Rose, and confided her plan to marry Godejohn, whom she'd met on a Christian singles site 2 years ago. Quote, "He's my soulmate."
Those things were okay for the fairy tales and movies and things like that, but not for Gypsy. Gypsy was her pristine, innocent doll, and she wanted nothing to tarnish that.
Now on Facebook, Gypsy Blanchard wrote that she'd planned to introduce Godejohn to her mom back in March. It appears that never happened. Now the couple are under court orders to have no contact. Blanchard has an extradition hearing tomorrow morning. Godejohn will be in court in 2 weeks.
Gypsy Rose Blanchard grew up with her mother, Dee Dee Blanchard, making claims about her health that resulted in a series of dire diagnoses and medical interventions. However, Gypsy wasn't actually unwell. Her mother had been lying about her symptoms. Experts believe Dee Dee's behavior stemmed from the mental disorder Munchausen syndrome by proxy. Because Dee Dee wanted to be a caretaker, she feigned and induced illnesses on her daughter. The truth about Gypsy and her mother only came out after Gypsy arranged for an online boyfriend to murder Dee Dee in 2015. Dee Dee began pretending that Gypsy had different illnesses since she was a baby. Gypsy Rose, who was born 1991, was a baby when Dee Dee claimed her daughter had sleep apnea. When Gypsy was 8 years old, Dee Dee described her as suffering from leukemia, muscular dystrophy, and said she required a wheelchair and a feeding tube. The list of medical problems that Dee Dee related about her daughter would go on, including seizures, asthma, hearing, and visual impairments. Due to Dee Dee's actions, Gypsy was prescribed a litany of medications and had to sleep using a breathing machine. She also went through multiple surgeries, including procedures on her eyes and removal of her salivary glands. When Gypsy's teeth rotted, perhaps due to her medications, missing salivary glands, or neglect, they were all pulled out. Yet the truth was that Gypsy could walk, didn't need a feeding tube, and did not have cancer. Her head was bald only because her mother shaved off her hair. Experts believe Dee Dee had a mental illness known as Munchausen syndrome by proxy, also called factitious disorder imposed on another, which made her fabricate her daughter's ill health in order to receive attention and sympathy for taking care of a sick child. Dee Dee appeared to be a charming and devoted mother, so people believed her. Medical tests often showed inconclusive or contradictory results regarding Gypsy's diagnosis, but Dee Dee would stop seeing any doctors who questioned her daughter's ailments. She had had some nursing training, so she could accurately describe symptoms, and she sometimes gave Gypsy medication to mimic certain conditions. Dee Dee was also charming and seemed devoted to her daughter. When Gypsy was old enough to talk, Dee Dee instructed her not to volunteer information during their appointments. She was always the one relating Gypsy's fake medical history. Dee Dee told Gypsy's father, Rod Blanchard, that their daughter had a chromosomal disorder that had led her to many health issues. He complimented Dee Dee for her devoted care. When some of Dee Dee's family noticed that Gypsy didn't seem to need a wheelchair and asked questions, Dee Dee and Gypsy moved away. Dee Dee claimed to be a victim of Hurricane Katrina, and so she and Gypsy received assistance to relocate from Louisiana to Missouri in 2005. There, Dee Dee continued to bring Gypsy to doctor's appointments. Hurricane Katrina also provided an excuse for missing medical files. In 2008, Gypsy and Dee Dee moved into a new home in Springfield, Missouri, built by Habitat for Humanity. It was painted pink and had a wheelchair ramp. Gypsy and Dee Dee also received benefits that included charity-sponsored visits to concerts and Disney World. All along, Dee Dee continued to bask in the attention she received for being a devoted caretaker. When Gypsy was 14, she saw a neurologist in Missouri who came to believe she was a victim of Munchausen syndrome by proxy. However, this doctor never reported her case to authorities. In later interviews, he stated his belief that there wasn't enough evidence to act. In 2009, an anonymous report was made to authorities stating that Dee Dee's accounts of Gypsy's ailments had no medical basis. This resulted in 2 caseworkers visiting their home, but Dee Dee convinced them there was nothing wrong. As Gypsy grew older, Dee Dee began to lie about her age, going so far as to alter dates on Gypsy's birth certificate to make her daughter seem younger. But Gypsy was still becoming harder for Dee Dee to control. Gypsy convinced a band she met online to kill Dee Dee. In 2011, Gypsy tried to get away from her mother by running away with a man she'd met at a science fiction convention, but Dee Dee soon tracked them down via mutual friends. She convinced the man that Gypsy was a minor, though she was actually 19 at the time. According to Gypsy, Dee Dee smashed her computer and physically restrained her to the bed after they returned home. Gypsy has also stated her mother would sometimes hit her and deny her food. Gypsy eventually managed to get back online. She joined a Christian dating site where she met Nicholas Godejohn. She told him the truth about her mother's actions and ended up asking him to kill Dee Dee so they could be together. In June 2015, he came to her house and stabbed Dee Dee while Gypsy waited, ears covered, in the bathroom. Gypsy and Godejohn returned to his home in Wisconsin, where they were found by police. Gypsy had twice posted to the Facebook account she shared with her mother, once writing that BITCH is dead. She later explained she made the post because she wanted her mother's body to be discovered. Gypsy was afraid and believed she didn't have anyone to trust. After Dee Dee's murder, many people who'd known Gypsy wondered why she had gone so far to kill her mother. Since she could walk, she simply could have exposed Dee Dee's lies by standing up in public, yet Gypsy had been conditioned to think no one would ever believe her. She explained, "I couldn't just jump out of the wheelchair because I was afraid and I didn't know what my mother would do. I didn't have anyone to trust." The fact that Gypsy had spent her entire life being controlled and monitored by her mother, she wasn't allowed to go to school. Though Gypsy was of normal intelligence, Dee Dee told everyone her daughter had a mental age of 7. When they were out in public, Dee Dee constantly held Gypsy's hand, squeezing it when she wanted her daughter to be quiet. Dr. Mark Feldman, an expert in Munchausen syndrome by proxy, said of Gypsy's life actions, "The control was total in the same sense that a control of a kidnapped victim sometimes is total. Her daughter was, in essence, a hostage, and I think we can understand the crime that occurred subsequently in terms of a hostage trying to gain escape." As Gypsy's medical records documented the abuse she'd been subjected to, her lawyer was able to arrange a plea deal for the charges she faced in Dee Dee's death. In 2016, Gypsy pled guilty to second-degree murder. She was sentenced to 10 years in prison, though she'll be eligible for parole beginning in 2024. Godejohn was found guilty of first-degree murder in 2018 and was sentenced to life in prison. Gypsy has stated it was only after Dee Dee's death that she realized the extent of her mother's deception. While Gypsy had known she could walk and eat regular food, she had believed she had leukemia. Today, Gypsy is healthy. She's also been said to enjoy more freedom in prison than she did with the life that she shared with Mother Dee Dee. However, when asked by Dr. Phil if she was glad her mother was dead, she stated, "I'm glad that I'm out of that situation, but I'm not happy she's dead." She is eligible for parole in 2024.